Good day, everybody. This is Ying, 3 hours late in California with Morsels of Thought number 1438. Today it is 8:10 a.m. right now in California. It is starting to sunrise. There's more sunrise now. There's starting to get light today now. 3 hours ago, I had overslept. I had overslept. So I'm sorry I'm late this morning. I hope the message came across clear. On Facebook, I'm able to put a little post on that says, I'm going to be late. But on YouTube, I did not. So I realized that I needed to come to YouTube and say, hi, I'm late today. And we have Marcus Aurelius on Miscellaneous Monday. My goal is to make you have a great day with morsels of a thought, preferably of knowing the right things to do, which is called wisdom, and actually doing the right things would be called virtue. So that's up to you, whether you want to do what you know is the right thing to do. We can make this a better world with more virtue. So number 2 in book 8 of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is, for every action, ask, how does it affect me? Could I change my mind about it? But soon I'll be dead and the slate's empty. So this is the only question. Is the action of a responsible being part of society and subject to the same decrees as God? Oh, I missed a word. But soon I'll be dead and the slate's empty. Yeah, we do Marcus Aurelius's Meditations because he spoke around the same time, AD 141 maybe. So these are words of Stoics. He is the epitome of a Stoic. That's what they call him. So anyway, but soon I'll be dead and the slate's empty. So this is the only question. Is it the action of a responsible being part of society and subject to the same decrees as God? Now, see, keep in mind that Jesus Christ was around for 141 years at that point of time. And so not everybody went to him, but the Stoics had been around and had been also creating dictums of what to do in real life to reach the virtues of logos, Number 3, Alexander and Caesar and Pompey compared with Diogenes, Heraclitus, Socrates. The philosophers knew the what, the why, the how. Their minds were their own. The others nothing but anxiety and enslavement. Number 4, you can hold your breath until you turn blue, but they'll still go on doing it. Okay? Now I'm going to read to number 7 because in 1034 we had already read number 4 and 5. So we have had Morsels of a Thought, number 1034. We have read numbers 4 and 5 and number 6. So I'm reading number 7. Nature of any kind thrives on forward progress, and progress for a rational mind means not accepting falsehood or uncertainty in its perceptions, making unselfish actions its only aim, seeking and shunning only the things it has control over, embracing what nature demands of it, the nature in which it participates, as the leaf's nature does in the trees nature, as the leaf's nature does in the tree's nature, except that the nature shared by the leaf is without consciousness or reason, that's what he says, and subject to impediments. Impediments are baggage. Whereas that shared by human beings is without impediments. I'm sorry, impedimenta meant baggage in Latin. Impediments in our language means barriers. Luggage. Whereas that shared by human beings is without impediments and rational and just, since it allots to each and everything an equal and proportionate share of time, being, purpose, action, chance. Examine it closely, not whether they're identical point by point, but in the aggregate, this weighed against that. This is a very serious way to say balance your life. Think of what's right and what's wrong. Think of what's rational. If we don't think the trees have sentience, then at least we have sentience. That's what it's saying. Number 8, no time for reading. For controlling your arrogance, yes. For overcoming pain and pleasure, yes. For outgrowing ambition, yes. For not feeling anger at stupid and unpleasant people, even for caring about them, for that, yes. Other than that, no time for reading. No magazines that talk about Jerry Springer and number 9. Don't be overheard complaining about life at court, not even to yourself. Good day, Lisros Cantata. Good to see you. You're on the East Coast, so it's actually almost noon where you are. But over here, it is still 8:16. Number 10. Remorse is annoyance at yourself for having passed up something that is to your benefit. But if it's to your benefit, it must be good, something a truly good person would be concerned about. But no truly good person would feel remorse at passing up pleasure. So it cannot be to your benefit or good. Number 11. What is this fundamentally? What is its nature and substance? Its reason for being? What is it doing in the world? How long has it been here? How long is it here for? Number 12. When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, remember that your defining characteristic, what defines a human being, is to work with others. Even animals know how to sleep, and it's the characteristic activity that's the more natural one, more innate, and more satisfying. Number 13. Apply them constantly to everything that happens. Physics, ethics, logic. That's how to live. It's a very difficult thing. There was an author of a book named, he was the author of the book series, What Colors Your Parachute? That was published in Berkeley by 10 Speed Press. I don't remember his name, but the author himself came to Stanford one time and gave a little talk. And Stanford affiliates got to just hang out at these activities, and I went there, and I heard him say, it is extremely difficult. In fact, you cannot live your life using only logic. And I thought about that for many years. I mean, over many years. And it was true. But if you do what Marcus Aurelius is saying, apply them constantly to everything that happens, physics, ethics, and logic, that's the truth. I use the physics all the time. When I'm driving on the road, for example, F force is equal to gravity 1 times gravity 2 times something else over r squared. R squared. What do you know? R squared. So R squared means the distance between you and the other car. I'm going to say that when your distance is between you and the other car, it is like this. That's one distance. But if you do 2, it's actually not only 2, it's not actually 1/2 of the problem, it's 1/4 of the problem, because it's 2 times 2, r squared. 3, it becomes 1/9, m1, m2 over 3, 9, because it's r squared. So that means the farther apart you stay between you and another car, it's a square of the distance effect of being safer. far away from a car. So that's what I'm just going to say here, because I happen to remember I said, well, that's the physics of it. And that is the truth. So ethics, logic, physics. Do that. Number 14. When you have to deal with someone, ask yourself, what does he mean by good and bad? If he thinks X or Y about pleasure and pain and what produces them, about fame and disgrace, about death and life, then it shouldn't shock or surprise you when he does X or Y. It's funny that I would come up with variables and then he comes up with variables. So in tune with the universe. In fact, I'll remind myself that he has no real choice but to do that. Number 15, remember, you shouldn't be surprised that a fig tree produces figs, nor the world what it produces. A good doctor isn't surprised when his patients have fevers, or a helmsman when the wind blows against him. See? Things that make sense. Number 16. Remember that to change your mind and to accept correction are free acts too. The action is yours based on your own will, your own decision, and your own mind. So if I stood corrected at something, I would stand and say, I am corrected. Number 17. If it's in your control, why do you do it? If it's in someone else's, then who are you blaming? Atoms? ATOMS? The gods? Stupid either way. Blame no one. Set people straight if you can. If not, just repair the damage. And suppose you can't do that either. Then where does blaming people get you? No pointless actions. In other words, don't do pointless actions. No pointless actions. Like flipping the sheets when you're doing the sheets. Don't flip them over and over and over again. That's pointless. So, number 18. What dies doesn't vanish. It stays here in the world, transformed, dissolved as parts of the world and of you, which are transformed in turn without grumbling. In other words, my mom passes on. She is transformed. She is dissolved into the world. She is as parts of the world and part of me. And I am transformed in turn without grumbling. Number 19. Everything is here for a purpose. From horses to vine shoots. Vine shoots, what's surprising about that? Even the sun will tell you, I have a purpose, and the other gods as well. And why were you born? For pleasure? See if that answer will stand up to questioning. Number 20. Nature is like someone throwing a ball in the air, ganging its right. I need to stay close to the book. Nature is like someone throwing a ball in the air. This is number 20. Gauging its rise and arc and where it will fall. And what does the ball gain as it flies upward, or lose when it plummets to earth? What does the bubble gain from its existence, or lose by bursting? And the same for a candle. A candle. Number 21. Turn it inside out. What is it like? What is it like old, or sick, or selling itself on the streets? They all die soon. Praiser and praised, rememberer and remembered, remembered in these parts or in a corner of them. Even there, they don't all agree with each other, or even with themselves. And the whole earth, a mere point in space. Number 22. Stick to what's in front of you. Idea, action, utterance. Now I want to say, even Marcus Aurelius' time, people knew we were but one point in space with all the stars, and we knew that the stars were suns. Number 22A. Oh, number 22. Stick to what's in front of you. Idea, action, utterance. Utterance means what you speak. Number 22A. This is what you deserve. You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow. Ooh, bad girl, bad girl. What? Number 23. What I do, I attribute it to human beneficence. What is done to me, I accept it and attribute it to the gods and that source from which all things together flow. In other words, from the source, from God. Number 24. Like the baths, oil, sweat, dirt, grayish water, all of it disgusting. The whole of life, all of the visible world. Number 25. Verus, Verus, leaving Lucilla behind, then Lucilla. Maximus, leaving Secunda, and Secunda, Diotimus, leaving Epitintianus, then Epitintianus, Faustina, leaving Antoninus, then Antoninus. So with all of them, it's funny how I have a friend whose name is Antonina, and she's Russian. The Russians got connected to the Romans somehow. Oh, and we're still continuing with number 25. So with all of them, Hadrian leading Keller, and Keller, that means fast. Where have they gone? Keller is a name, Celer, but it means fast. Where have they gone? The brilliant, the insightful ones, the proud, brilliant as Charax and Demetrius, the Platonist and Eudaimon, and the rest of them. Short-lived creatures, long dead, some of them not remembered at all, some become legends, some lost even to legend. So remember, your components will be scattered too, the life within you quenched, or marching orders and another posting. In other words, he's talking about reincarnation here. Number 26. Joy for humans lies in human actions. Human actions, kindness to others, contempt for the senses, the interrogation of appearances, observation of nature and of events in nature. Number 27. 3 relationships. 1, with the body you inhabit. 2, with the divine, the cause of everything in all things. 3, with the people around you. Number 28. Either pain affects the body, which is the body's problem, or it affects the soul. But the soul can choose not to be affected, persevering in its own serenity, its own tranquility. All our decisions, urges, desires, aversions lie within. No evil can touch them. 29. To erase false perceptions, tell yourself, I have it in me to keep my soul from evil, lust, and all confusion, to see things as they are and treat them as they deserve. Don't overlook this innate ability. We all do. Even babies do. They know what's right and what's wrong. When a baby is holding a carrot and you take the carrot away, the baby knows it's wrong of you to take the carrot away and it will cry. That's an innate ability. Number 30, to speak to the Senate. The Senate in the old days, in Roman times, was the ruler of the nation, the city-state. They called it city-state because they were small. Well, anyway. Number 30, to speak to the Senate or anyone in its right tone without being overbearing, to choose the right words. Number 31, Augustus's court. His wife, his daughter, his grandsons, his stepsons, his sister Agrippa, the relatives, servants, friends, Arius, Maecenas, the doctors, the sacrificial priests, the whole court, dead. And consider the others, not just the deaths of individuals like the family of the Pompeys. That line they write on tombs, last surviving descendant. Consider their ancestors' anxiety that there be a successor, but someone has to be the last. There too, the death of a whole house. Number 32. The Chinese were really big about that too, actually. Number 32. You have to assemble your life to yourself, or at least the Chinese kingdom. In those days, China was 3 countries, and then it became 5 countries, and then it became 7 countries, and then it became this big thing called China. Anyway, it wasn't all one place before. Number 32, you have to assemble your life yourself, action by action, and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal as far as it can. No one can keep that from happening. But there are eternal obstacles. There are external obstacles. There are external obstacles. External. Not to behaving with justice, self-control, and good sense, well, but perhaps with some more concrete action. But if you accept the obstacle and work with what you're given, an alternative will present itself. Another piece of what you're trying to assemble, action by action. Number 33, to accept it without arrogance, to let it go with indifference. Number 34, have you ever seen a severed hand or foot or a decapitated head just lying somewhere far away from the body it belonged to? That's what we do to ourselves, or try to, when we rebel against what happens to us, when we segregate ourselves, or when we do something selfish. You have torn yourself away from unity, your natural state, one you were born to share in. Now you've cut yourself off from it, but you have one advantage here. You can reattach yourself, a privilege God has granted to no other part of no other whole, to be separated, cut away, and reunited. But look how he's singled us out. He's allowed us not to be broken off in the first place. And when we are, he's allowed us to return or graft ourselves back on and take up our old position once again, part of a whole. We have various abilities present in all rational creatures, as in the nature of rationality itself. And this is just one of them. I'm going to continue with number 35 next week in the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, translated by Gregory Hayes. And I will see you tomorrow for a Rose Day. So here we are. And I speak of that old congressman, old Kinderhook.